Good morning, everybody. I beg your pardon. From my testimony, there are two things that I like to bring across to people. The first thing is that drugs don't discriminate. You see, there's a common misperception that says people that are stuck in drugs or come from a drug background has something lacking in their upbringing. Maybe they lack an education. Maybe they are stupid, maybe they are ugly, whatever the case may be. So let me share with you a bit of my life story. I'm going to jump ahead to 1997. It's the year I turned 16 years old. By June of 1997, I was a South African champion in sport. My father was a multi-millionaire. My grandfather composed the first gospel record in South Africa, and life was great. I was a hero in my own eyes. Let me forward to November of 1997. It's the same month I would have turned 16. On the 8th of November, grandfather died. On the 12th of November, grandfather was buried. On the 17th of November, I turned 16. By the 30th of November, Dad declared bankruptcy, and by December, I lost my place in the South African squad that was going to go overseas to compete in sports. In 1 month, my entire life collapsed. And that year, on the 23rd of December, 1997, I took heroin for the first time. Now, a lot of people don't know what heroin is. That's the terrible white powder that we mix with water and we put it into an injection. Now, I want to share with you how the devil stole from me whilst using drugs. You know, I fell into the cycle of feeling sorry for myself and jumping over my emotional hurdles by sticking needles into my arms. And he stole to me from such an extent that while I'm sitting in prison, locked up for being in possession of heroin, I'm sitting in front of another gentleman that I know is HIV positive. I know it because when they go and fetch food, they get food in a different color plate. But I'm so stuck in drugs and this thing is shouting my name so loudly that I take that same injection that this guy just had into his arms and I take it and I stick it into my veins and I take a shot of heroin. Time and time again. And this brings me to the second part of my testimony that I like to bring across to people. We serve a gracious God that is full of mercy, slow to anger, and rich in love. You know, 17 rehabilitation centers later, time and time again of taking things, making stupid decisions like taking needles that were supposed to give me HIV. I stand in front of you and I'm HIV negative. Come on, somebody say glory to God. Let's give him a hand. Come on. Yes. That is the God that we serve. Now, I want to tell you something. Wherever you are in life, especially those people listening to this broadcast, wherever you are, I know that sometimes we feel like we've made so many mistakes that maybe God won't forgive me for what I've done. I want to tell you that He's a gracious and a merciful God. You see, I've got hundreds of examples of where I myself tested the grace of God, where I tested the mercy of God. Now, please, I do not suggest to anybody that they deliberately go and test the grace of God. You know, when you come out of so many rehabilitation centers and you go in and out of prisons, my entire 20s and halfway through my 30s were spent either in a rehabilitation center or behind bars. And by 2011, I was fed up. I had enough. I was kicked out of another rehabilitation center, and on my way back to Pretoria, I decided that this is it. I went into the road accident fund buildings in Pretoria in the CBD. I bought myself a supply of heroin. I locked myself in an abandoned story. I think it was the 11th floor or something like that. There was nothing happening there. I went into a cubicle and I took what was supposed to be an overdose of heroin. And I succeeded. And whilst I was in that little cubicle and I injected that what would have been my last shot of heroin into my veins, I passed out, I overdosed, and I fell forward and I hit my head against the toilet paper dispenser. And the blood from the head wound that was running underneath the cubicle was what triggered the security guard at night to call the police, and they came and they saved my life again. And time again, the grace of God was sufficient for me. And I just want to encourage everybody that listened to this testimony and that's going to listen to the rest of the testimonies now, not to play with the grace of God, but to accept the grace of God. He is merciful and He loves each and every one of you. Thank you.